are live. All right. Hey, guys, let's see. Who do we have here? We've got Curtis and Chris and Kyle. Kyle, you and I need to talk about elementary school live streaming announcements, that kind of stuff. I had somebody call me today, and I might need to reach out to your help on that one. Dan's here. Rich, Kenny, Prashana. Dennis, Prashana is watching from Nepal, where it's like 2:30 in the morning.
That's dedicated. I'm not sure I would get up at 2:30 in the morning to watch, but I might watch the on-demand replay later in the day. That's impressive.
And the other thing is that their time zone is off by a half hour from what's nearby them instead of the full hour like we experience here in the States. All right, Tommy Willis is here. Tommy, I got your PC. Oh, I got this treat. Let me set up a cam. Tommy sent me this little Giles guy. Let me see if I can get it down here.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
Yep, the Giles guy. Let's see. Yep, there's my little Giles guy. Tommy, where in the world did you find that? That's great. I love it. I love it. I'm keeping it forever. Scott's here. Bill's here. Rod's here. The other Scott's here. Merle's here. Merle, I'm glad you're feeling better. JP, RJ. Welcome, RJ. Good to see you again. Well, actually, I don't see you, but I know you're here. Daniel's here. Paul, Boris from California. Tommy Willis Jr. Oh, there's a story behind that one, I'm sure. Rudy's here. Rudy is watching us from Belgium. Jerry. Timothy. Indrit. And Martin K. is watching us from Manchester, England. Andres is here. Rich. Who else? Sean is here. Hey, Sean. I think I've got everybody down. Okay, so you guys are on time. Tommy Willis, there is somebody in the chat room named Tom Willis Jr. No lie. It's probably Giles, but, who knows? If you're watching us on Facebook or Periscope or YouTube directly and you wonder, what in the world am I talking about? I am talking about the chat room. And our chat room looks like this. Whoops, this right here. And it's part of the show that you get if you go to easternshorebroadcasting.com. So go on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com and you can get in on the chat because we're not monitoring the chat on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Periscope. So you'll have to come easternshorebroadcasting.com to be there. Okay, let's see. We got about a minute to go. Dennis, what I think I'll do is we'll do the intro thing. I'll have a short little monologue, and then I'll begin to talk about you and introduce you. So when you hear me talk about you, that's your cue to, be ready to go. Now, last week's host was not wearing pants, or at least that's what we said. Last week we found out later that he was wearing shorts, but he apparently, when you're up in Pennsylvania,
that makes 2 weeks in a row because I've got shorts on as well. So
okay,
I did
shorts is good.
Put pants on for the occasion. Yeah,
shorts is good. Shorts is good. But when you just announce out of the blue, I'm not wearing pants, that leaves a little bit to be questioned, maybe. Okay.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. Okay. All right, so let's see. Time-wise, we are right at 2 o'clock. Let's see if anybody else has popped in. Looking down the list here. Jan is here. Jan is a Dane in Sweden. MT Head is here. Welcome, MT. Glad to have you. That looks like it. Andres is watching from Sweden. Thank you, Andres. Good to have it. PI Engineering, that's Dan. That's the folks that makes X keys, says Giles never wears pants. That's true. He always wears overalls. So if we're ever looking for a shot of Giles, if you don't know what Giles looks like, just look at that and you will know what he looks like. If you ever bump into him, he looks exactly like that, except for the glasses, of course. Okay.
He needs his own camera in the lower corner.
Yeah, that's right. We ought to do that. I wish I'd thought about that. Oh, golly. Okay. Oh, and Marie is here. That's Jan's wife. Welcome. She goes by the wife in chat room. Okay. And Martin is here. Welcome, Martin. Glad to have you. Martin Steed from England. All right. Kenny says, Tom, can you back Dennis's video back just a bit to line up with you? Well, we could do that, or we could just make me bigger. How about that?
Oh, I see. To line it up. I thought he was talking about maybe a delay, but
no. And Martin K likes me just to have just a little bit of white space there.
You got to have just a tiny bit of headroom. He's right. That's television rules right there. So.
Yep. Martin is old BBC guy.
There you go. He's got it, and the camera needs to be eye level.
Right. Right. So you're not looking down, you're not looking up. Actually, mine could be up about 6 inches. Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, Giles is here. So who was Tommy Willis Jr.? Interesting. Oh, I need to find my phone and turn it off. I always forget to do that.
Everybody text Tom during the show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's turn down ringtone, turn down media, notifications. Okay, we're good. All right. Giles. Oh, Giles, you didn't see what Tommy sent me. He sent me a virtual reality of you. How about that? Uh-oh, we're picking up a little audio glitch here. That's, ooh, and now it went away. That wasn't either one of us, actually. I don't know where that was coming from.
What did it sound like? I didn't hear it.
Oh, you didn't hear it. Good, good. It was,
No.
It was static, but a little choppier than static.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting that background of myself again. Let's see.
That's weird.
I'm going to turn you off for just a second and see if I still hear it. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Me.
No, I think it's coming from you. And it's just the faintest little thing. Well, don't worry about it. We'll roll on through it. I mean, if that's the worst thing that happens on this show, we're in good shape. We're in good shape.
I agree with that.
All right, last check through the chat. Oh, Ken's here. Ken Richer works with the candy company that makes Dum Dums, Dennis. What a job. That'd be great.
Isn't like a case of that supplied to all your guests? Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. Ken will be responsible for sending it to you. That's right. Oh, my goodness.
That's awesome.
Okay. Oh, and Good Shepherd Al here. That's Al Bunt. Welcome, Al. Good to have you. Hey, folks, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube directly or Periscope or Twitter, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com, and that way you can get it on the cool chat because you just need to be there. That's where all the fun is.
That's
all
right.
Ken says
a shout out to Tom
that
Willis there. He's thanking me for the Maywood shirt. I am sporting my Maywood Christian Camp T-shirt. Well, it's more than a T-shirt, but that's where I was at last week. So.
All right. All right. Very good. Very good. Tommy knows about that. All right. I think, Dennis, we're just going to wing it.
Let's do it. I like it.
We're just going to wing it. Okay. Timothy says, is there no pre-show stream? Timothy, this is the pre-show. See the little graphic right there? That says pre-show. Yeah, there we go. Anderson says, can you move that label in the bottom right-hand? Anderson, you're going to have to get a bigger screen. That is the chat where people can chat with me online. Got to have it. Got to have it. It's important. Okay. Let's go. Anderson, the other thing you can do is you can go watch us on Facebook or YouTube and then pop out the chat. That would do the same thing. All right. Dennis, I'm going to mute you. So you are hereby muted. and we're going to fade to black and go to the show. So let me get my handy dandy X keys here so that we can do it. Yeah, Dennis is over there practicing, trying to make me think his audio's gone bad. So Scott from Michigan, first-time viewer here. Glad to have you. Don't have any big aspirations about a pro show. We're just having fun here. All right, so here we go. Getting ready. 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, and this is Streaming Idiots. If you thought you were heading out for a live streaming show that was professionally produced, you're in the wrong place. We are having a ton of fun, though, here today. We had a good little pre-show, and I'm just so excited about what's going on in the great world of live streaming. I mean, we had just this week Dr. Andrew Cross introduced, he's the new tech guys. You remember the NDI folks? He introduced a new NDI compatible camera, and it's a PTZ from NewTek, the NewTek NDI PTZ or whatever it's going to be called. And in addition to that, he introduced a wireless, what would you call it? A wireless transceiver, a wireless broadcast. It's called the Spark. It looks like that, and basically it attaches to your camera and makes your camera appear on your IP network as a resource, and thus in TriCaster or vMix as an NDI source for video and audio. So that's pretty cool, and those will be released. I think they've announced them, so they're going to release them August 1st, but I also understood that date was a little flexible. So if you're interested in one, go to the NewTek website or your local NewTek dealer and find out. Yeah, Maria's saying the thingamabob with ears. That's right. That's right. So that's really cool. And right behind that, PTZ Optics announced that they're going to be releasing a NDI PTZ cam probably the end of August, early September, and then followed up by Panasonic saying that they are releasing an NDI compatible PTZ cam, probably a collaboration with the NewTek folks would be my guess. So that's three cameras that are coming out that are going to be NDI compatible. Now let's qualify that by saying NewTek is also releasing NDI version 3.0, and within version 3.0 is a subset of version 3.0 that is a higher compression, lower bandwidth way of doing NDI. And all of the above mentioned cameras and the above mentioned Spark device will use that subset of NDI 3.0. The subset of NDI 3.0 is called NDI HX. And H would be for high, and maybe X for transmit or receive or whatever you want it to mean. But NDI HS will be maybe 1080p, 10 megabits per second in terms of bandwidth, as opposed to NDI 2.0 NDI, which 1080p was 100 megabits per second. Obviously, there's some compression going on. Obviously, you're losing a little bit in compression. But the big news is that the NDI 2.0 latency, which is like a frame, maybe less, is not that much more with the NDI HX. Even though there's some compression going on, it doesn't add that much latency to it. We don't know yet because we haven't seen it. I know a lot of folks have indicated they were going to pre-order one, and NewTek hasn't stepped out and volunteered to send me one to test. I'll let you know if they do. In fact, if I do, you can borrow it from me. But it's going to be interesting to see. This is a big step forward. I mean, NDI, of course, was a huge step forward. And within the NDI world, NDI HX is going to be another huge step forward. We're trying to get together a little discussion and debate show to talk about NDI versus NDI HX and kind of peel back the layers on that so that we all have a good understanding what the differences are, what the benefits are, and what the drawbacks are. I mean, whenever you deal with a company that is selling something, you know for sure you're going to be hearing the benefits. But you don't always hear the other side of that. That is the weaknesses, the drawbacks, the things that don't work right. Notice nobody is talking about NDI. Nobody is saying the words, not the words, but the letters NDI and 4K in the same sentence. And we might go there too. We'll just have to see. So, you're now up with everything that's been going on in the last week or 10 days. Well, at least in the world that I think. Well, no, wait, no. Last night, get this, last night, if you're in the US, it was last night. If you're in Australia, it was Wednesday morning, which don't even try to get me to explain all that. And if you're in Europe, it was in the middle of the night, you were asleep. But last night, Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, remember, vMix is one of the real early adopters of NDI and really helped put vMix front and center for a lot of companies. Martin announced that vMix 20, vMix 2X, which is destined for a beta release in September, will, and now you remember with the vMix releases, the odd number releases are the big feature releases. So vMix 19 had vMix Call, vMix 17 had NDI. vMix 20 will not have that super killer feature, but will have a collection of really useful upgrades. And Martin indicated last night in the vMix Funtime live show, how about that for the name of a show? vMix Funtime live show for July. He announced that it will be a staggered release. A staggered release. So that means it's going to trickle out. Some good features right at the beginning, and then maybe a month or two later some more, and then some more, and then some more. And he threw it out. Maybe I misunderstood, but what I understood him to say was that vMix 20 would not be fully released until NAB next spring 2018. So he's going to trickle out those features. Now remember, vMix 20 is also known as vMix 2X, and there's the promise for twice as much of some stuff. For example, 2 recordings instead of 1. Twice as many outputs. Frankly, I'm hoping for twice as many streams or 2 separate streamers. So you could stream a presentation like this in this manner, and then you could stream another one that had the captions underneath it so that you could use that cool captioning. We're going to have somebody come talk about that, I hope, at some point in the future. So anyway, lots of cool things on the horizon. If you're just joining the streaming world, welcome to the fast lane. It's going to be a ton of fun. And if you're just joining us today live for the first time, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube directly, Twitter or Periscope, you do need to come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com. That way you can get in on the chat room. There are about 4 dozen folks in there right now, and they're having a big time. They're not even talking about what we're talking about, but that's okay. That's okay. Well, they're actually saying, okay, they're talking about what they would like to see in vMix 20. That's good. And in the post-show, we'll be taking questions from the chat room, so that'll be a lot of fun too. Okay, I think I covered all the bases. Oh, one more thing. Full disclosure. Eastern Shore Broadcasting is an authorized reseller for vMix. And it is an authorized reseller for Magewell, the capture card people, and an authorized reseller for X-Keys, the X-Key people, actually PI Engineering, and an authorized reseller for PTZ Optics. This is a PTZ Optics, excuse me, PTZ Optics cam that we're using for today's show. And so if you're interested in vMix, the software, or Magewell, the video capture card, or the PTZ or the PI Engineering X-Keys or the PTZ Optics camera, don't go buy those on Amazon because you don't get any good support from Amazon. Yeah, I know you can return it if it doesn't work. But if you'll go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and buy it from us, you get us with it. So that means you get all of our wealth of experience. So if you have a question, you got an answer. And actually, you can call and get an answer. I get calls all the time. It's really funny. My wife hates it, but I'll get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning from somewhere in Europe. You know, they're up. They're ready to go. We also have brought to market our own brand, and that is livestreaminggear.com, the PCs. And so, yeah, I'll flash that back up there. Live Streaming Gear, and that is our brand of live streaming PCs that are powered by vMix, of course, and frequently have Magwell capture cards and X keys included with them, and sometimes are bundled together with PTZ Optics cameras. So you can see there's a real kind of family thing going on there. Okay, so enough of the full disclosure content. I mean, this whole show is just an infomercial for us, you know, trying to prove to you that streaming is really cool, and that if I can do it, an idiot, where does it say idiot? Yeah, right down there. If an idiot can do it, you can do it, and it can be a lot of fun, whatever your passion is. My guest today, and sorry for so much of a run-up to this, but my guest today is a very passionate person, passionate about live streaming, and involved in live streaming at almost every level you could find somebody involved at live streaming. Let me bring in Dennis Washington. Dennis, welcome to the broadcast. Oh, I got to turn your audio on too. There we go.
Welcome. It's great to be here, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. I am so impressed. Dennis popped into my world. I mean, you know how internet friends are. You know, you kind of, you're friends for a while and you're paying attention to what they're doing, and then not. And then all of a sudden I see that he's at SEC Media Days and doing live streams from SEC Media Days for the Alabama News Network. Dennis, tell me what in the world was going on.
Well, it's you're right. It is a long story that kind of has come up to that. But I've been off and on involved with SEC Media Days for many years, just not in this capacity as I was last week. I do some contract work for Alabama News Center, which is a run by Alabama Power, and they had asked me to do live streaming on Wednesday and Thursday of last week for the Alabama and Auburn coverage. Alabama News Center covering obviously the two collegiate, the two biggest collegiate football teams in the state. So I brought all my gear in, and we had a hotel room set up where we did a live stream each day for 6 to 12 minutes each day, just going over the highlights from Nick Saban's comments and Gus Malzahn's comments on those days. And great success. They were very, very pleased with the results of that. So it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you're showing the page there, and there's been actually another 15 more live streams since last week. I was at the Sloss Music Festival on behalf of Alabama News Center this past Saturday and Sunday, and we live streamed select artist interviews, teamed up with Birmingham Mountain Radio, who had arranged these interviews for their radio station. And we video streamed them, live streamed them on Facebook from the event venue as well, and did that. There's one of the pictures you can see right there from that I took and posted to the Facebook page. But had a great success with that. I pulled some random statistics for them over, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday of this week, and the views were up in the thousands all total, which they were very, very pleased with.
That is awesome, and so cool that Alabama Power would make that available. I guess as part of their public service contribution in the state.
It is. So it is. The News Center is a way for them. They started the website alabamanewscenter.com about 2 or 3 years ago as a way just to kind of showcase the good news happening in this state, especially in terms of business and community innovation, technology, and it is evolving. We're starting to see a lot more lifestyle content as well as sports and that sort of thing, and things that affect people in Alabama, but in a positive way. And that's really what the website and the social media channels have really evolved into.
Well, and that's not the only thing in Alabama that you're working on either, is it? I mean, let's now that we've kind of cracked the sports conversation. Let's talk about
Yep.
your closer to home passion.
Well, and what's funny is my success, or my business success, I guess, has really been involved in sports. But I'm a meteorologist as well. I've been a licensed meteorologist now for more than 15 years, and tornado chaser. I worked at the Fox TV station here in Birmingham, Alabama, for about 18 years before I left 4 years ago. Started my own business and really struck out full time on this venture of content marketing, live streaming, brand journalism. But the live streaming is really where I've kind of focused and honed in on. And just 2 years ago this month, helped co-create the Husky Fast Network, which is a live streaming network we built for Hewitt Trustful High School and the Trustful City Schools here in the Birmingham area. And as a result, that's the website you can see there. We're now going into our third football season this fall, live streaming all the games. We built an app that's now available. In fact, version 2 of the app just came out this spring, back in May, that we built from the first version that we used the first 2 seasons. We were averaging close to 4,000 viewers every Friday night by the end of the season last fall. Using vMix, of course. I found vMix last summer, and we used that for last fall, added the instant replay, and it was just fantastic. It is a TV football broadcast. We treat it like if it were on a television station. Many of us have worked in TV or radio for many years, so we treat it as a professional TV radio broadcast. With commercials and so forth, which obviously limits our delivery platforms when you start looking at the terms of service of Facebook and YouTube, for example. But as a result, we're delivering something unique and relevant and timely to the people of Trustful, Alabama, and the results have shown the advertisers have been more than thrilled and often sign up before the season's even over for the next football season.
All right, so what's the population of Trustville, Alabama?
Population's about 20,000. So if you're looking at percentage-wise, we were averaging about 20% of the population was watching the broadcast every Friday night.
That is huge.
Many of those, it is. It absolutely is. And many of those would be sitting in the stands. We would look down out of the press box and see people in the stands holding their phones, watching our broadcast, so they could see the instant replays on their phones as they're sitting at the game.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. The instant replay was by far the huge hit for us last year and helped. We saw from first year to second year, video view growth was around 32% in video view growth from the first season to the second season.
If I'm an advertiser or a sponsor, I want my logo on the instant replay stinger. That's where I want it.
Yes. And that's what, yeah, because of the instant replay got used real often. The instant replay sponsor last year, he signed up midway through the season for season 2, or for this season coming up this fall.
He wasn't going to chance it, was he?
Value in that.
Yep.
No, no, yep. He wasn't. And helped bring one of his friends on board who's going to be a sponsor for our halftime show this year. So the word of mouth has really gotten out. We try to take care of our advertisers. We value their financial support of what we do. We want to over-deliver on the value, and as a result, the fans get what they're asking for and more, and so do the advertisers as well.
So that's not pay-per-view, is it? That's a free broadcast because you've got advertising to support it.
Correct. And that was one of the things we set out initially. We did not want a pay-per-view situation here because we felt like it was unfair to put that burden on the fans, especially you've got family, sometimes grandparents that live out of state, wanting to watch their sons play football or their daughters march in the band, cheerleading, whatever. We did not want to put the financial burden on them to support the broadcast like the Alabama High School Athletic Association does with their partnership with Play on Sports in the NFHS. We did not feel like that was a good business model, and as a result, we believe our numbers prove that in the fact that we're getting thousands of viewers every Friday night watching our broadcast.
So do you think that's affected attendance at the game?
It hasn't. We've talked with school officials specifically about that, and we asked their blessing before we started out on this. We wanted their approval, their support. They support us on social media when we put out broadcast alerts and promotions about upcoming broadcasts. They're quick to retweet it and share it on social media. But the gate numbers have not been affected. In fact, I think what it's done is brought more awareness. We tabulated at the end of every season what kind of brand awareness, and we had over 500,000 impressions on social media last fall as a result of our broadcast, and all of that was organic. We didn't spend a dime on advertising to make all of that happen.
That's some serious numbers. That's some for Trussville High School in Trussville, Alabama, population 20,000. Holy
Absolutely.
Cow.
Absolutely.
If I'm the Chevy dealer, I want the whole thing.
Well, and we do have it. As you were scrolling there, the Chevy dealer that's in town. We do have 2 car dealerships. The other one was the sponsor this first 2 years, and now the Courtesy has joined on for the next 2 years to be our title sponsor of the network. So their branding is going. I mean, you open the app, the Husky Fast Network app, you're going to see their logo when it opens, and it's going to be branded everywhere. But the results have been really. We really didn't know going in what kind of numbers to expect, and it was a lot better than what we expected. It's been fantastic results for a 7A school. Now, Hewitt-Trussville is one of the 32 largest schools in the state of Alabama, so that does help in terms of being in the top classification of high schools in this state. But we think the quality of the product that we try to put out every Friday night also has an effect on that.
Well, and I would imagine with your TV background, you do have a TV background, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I've worked almost 2 decades
softball
in television
question
and radio,
there.
So.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
And
yeah,
it wasn't all in a studio. I mean, didn't you? You had a crazy time in TV. Tell us about that crazy time. The idiot time. That's what we want to call it, the idiot time.
Well, it is. I mean, some people would look at that and like, why are you chasing tornadoes? That doesn't make any sense. I have loved weather since I was a kid. I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. When the civil defense sirens were going off in the spring as a tornado warning was issued, my dad and I would go stand out in the driveway looking for them, hoping to see them. So I've always had a love for tornadoes, and that really evolved out of my journalism degree that I got in college and got my meteorology degree from Mississippi State. Finished that in 2002, and after that became one of the tornado chasers for my TV station. And that's really where my live streaming experience began as well, because as we were going out tornado chasing, we wanted to do more than just call on the phone and tell people where we were at. We wanted to show them. And I'll never forget in the early 2000s when Yahoo Instant Messenger added a video chat feature to their instant messaging. And that's how we used initially to get video back to the TV station of where we were at. And obviously it evolved from there into what we've got now with everybody walking around with a video camera in their pocket.
Well, and probably back then you got 1080p, 30 frames a second. I mean, it was probably pristine video, right?
Right. Yeah, it was more like 1 frame every 2 or 3 seconds, and about the size of a postage stamp. So it has been fun to watch it all evolve, though. I mean, the quality of the video and the size of the cameras, even in the last just few years, to think 10 years ago when the first iPhone came out and now where we're at is absolutely incredible. Just to see the options that are available to us now. And then in the broadcast industry, things like LiveView and these other devices that really help deliver video over cell networks is just incredible how rapidly the technology is changing.
Indeed. All right, now tell me a little bit about your studio today. Tell me what you're doing, what's coming, how are you coming to us?
So I am in the basement of my house. I've got a little studio that I've built. In fact, I'll try to pop up this camera here. Let's see. Oh, I've got to get out of the chat window first. All right. So I've got a couple of cameras here I'm using, and I did see someone in the chat talk about my microphone. I have always been a radio guy at heart. That was my first love. So I've got right here the Electro Voice RE20 microphone. Cherish that thing. The sound, I mean, there are good mics out there besides that, but that's just always been an iconic favorite of mine. The camera that I'm using to point at the other camera is from Marshall Electronics. So if Marshall started building security cameras years ago, and they adopted the HD SDI and HDMI protocols on some of their models, and broadcasters like me a few years ago realized, hey, I can get a HD SDI signal out of this camera. I don't need it to record. I don't need all the fancy controls. I just need simply to be able to get that. I know it's kind of hard to see with the backlighting on that, but that is it's a $600 camera now that you can get from just about any of the retailers. And what's great about it is it can be a fixed camera. So if, like, for product demonstrations, if I need to point at things and that sort of thing, then I can use that camera there, and I can point it down at a device and do a product demonstration with it like that. Or in this case, I've got the other one sitting right there pointing at me. I don't have to worry about a bunch of controls and so forth. It's static, and it just stays there, and it works. Got a little Mackie Mix 8 mixer that brings the audio into the computer, and running a computer with vMix, which
vMix.
Have to,
oh,
vMix.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
vMix is my thing. I love vMix. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
It's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, can you imagine back in 2002 or when you first started off with the TV station, if they had a tool like this, they could have put it in the trunk of a car.
It's something that does what vMix does now. Even 5 or 10 years ago would have required a server room with massive amounts of computers, and it certainly wouldn't have been portable at all, and the price tag would have been 6 or 7 figures. Yep. So to think you can get a computer with a capture card and vMix software for $3,000-$4,000 at most, or less in some cases, depending on how you configure it, it's incredible how easy it is to get into professional live streaming and not just something you do on your phone at a reasonable price.
Now, when you were working for the TV station, you guys started doing live streaming there too, didn't you?
Yes, we did. I mentioned the tornado chasing. That was obviously often with a webcam on a laptop that we would use pointed, just taped to the window of the truck. That evolved into getting cameras built into the truck that would then run through a video switcher into the laptop that would feed out. We often used Ustream for many years to get that back to the TV station, and a computer at the station would then take the video output as a scan converter to get it into the switcher. Besides chasing tornadoes, my primary job at the TV station the last 5 years I was there was everything digital, the website, the apps, social media, and I was the one that really kind of led the charge on live streaming our newscast, and it worked. We started back more than 10, 12 years ago. At that point, it was a lot of the desktop streaming. The mobile really had not evolved yet because the iPhone was just coming out. But once the iPhone started coming out, we started adapting early into that too, and making that available. Of course, now it's so much easier to live stream to any device, not just a separate feed to a desktop versus a mobile device, with the providers that are out there now.
Very cool. So your experience, was live streaming something that was being already available on TV? Did that benefit the station? How did that benefit the station to do that?
It ended up benefiting a lot. I'll never forget some of the early conversations I had with some of my management team about this, and there were some that were worried that live streaming would encourage people to stop watching television and actually take away from TV ratings. But what we discovered pretty quickly was that it was the opposite was the effect. The more we live streamed, the better our TV ratings were, and a lot of that was due to the fact of brand awareness. When people, before live streaming, when people would leave home to go to work, they were then disconnected from the TV station from 7 or 8 in the morning until 4, 5, 6 o'clock at night. They had no way. There were no iPhones at the time. So when you started live streaming, now you gave people a way to stay connected with you and your product during the day at work, and so they could stay, and when they got home they thought, I need to get an update on that breaking news story I saw on my computer earlier today. Mm-hmm. So really that's where live streaming has benefited television stations and benefits really anybody in general. it's part of that content marketing strategy. The more available you are to people throughout their day, the more that you stay at top of mind on them, and the more they think of you when they need something.
Well, and you're not just a TV guy or a sports guy. You've got some other, you've got an event that you're going to be streaming coming up pretty soon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Friday I'll be headed down to Faulkner University in Montgomery. I do a lot of work with several church events around the region, including this one coming up called the AIM Conference this weekend. About 500 or 600 teens and adults from around the Southeast will be there for this church event. Been for several years now, handling not just the live streaming but also the audio video setup, the projection system inside on the screens, and obviously with the how live streaming has evolved, we're taking some of that now and live streaming it for people to be able to watch on Facebook. Do that with that Exposure Youth Camp. Of course, I'm wearing my Maywood Christian Camp T-shirt. If cell service was better there at the camp, we'd be live streaming a lot more there too. But it just love the way that the technology allows us to be able to connect people. And Tom, I'll even mention this. We didn't even discuss this yesterday when we were talking, but back in December, there's another group I work with every December called Exposure Youth Camp. And the last night of the event, there's about 1,500 plus people that attend this one. And the last night of the event, we get in the atrium of the Embassy Suites Hotel in Huntsville, Alabama, and everybody fills all 12, 13 floors, whatever it is, and we sing for half an hour. And we live streamed that on Facebook, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It has the reach has been almost 1.5 million Facebook users were reached within less than a month, with video views well over 400,000 or 500,000 video views. Absolutely incredible.
I saw that. That was amazing, and just gave me goosebumps. To see that many kids.
It is. And it's something we've been doing for many years, but we just never had the ability to show it live. We always did it, we would record it and upload it to YouTube, and it would get a lot of views on YouTube in previous years. But the ability to do it live and the people encouraged to share that moment live. I mean, it really was, to watch something go viral, truly viral, and like something like that was absolutely fascinating to watch. Yellowhammer News even picked it up and did a story about it. It was incredible to see.
All right. Enough of that. Now is the time for the shameless plug. Give me a shameless plug for DennisWashington.tv.
That is it. That's my little personal world right there, DennisWashington.tv, and it kind of is a good starting point to branch off into all the different things I've been involved in. The blog, I should take some time and post a few things that I keep putting back, saying I'll put there. But there are links to different ways you can connect with me on that and some of the projects I'm involved in. But that's really just a great place to start right there at DennisWashington.tv.
So if I was sitting out there and I was saying, God, this Dennis Washington looks like the kind of guy that I'd like to hang out with, how could he help me and my company? What would you say? Or let me just say it personally. How could you help Eastern Shore Broadcasting and Streaming Idiots? I mean, is there some skill that you have that would help us?
Well, initially what would come to mind is I think people are stronger in pairs or quadruple or whatever. It's like the whole spaghetti theory. One spaghetti you can easily break, but a group of people is a lot stronger. And from a live streaming perspective, there's a lot of work that I think we all do that if we leaned on each other for resources and manpower, we could produce even some bigger and better broadcasts. So, that would be my initial vision. Obviously, a lot of the work I do right now is live streaming, and my whole goal behind live streaming is to be as portable as possible. I love trucks. I love big satellite trucks, always have, but I love the ability to put all of my gear in the back of my SUV and drive anywhere I need to be able to live stream a multi-camera professional event. and I really pride myself on that. So the ability to do that, to go anywhere that's needed to live stream, that's really my bread and butter, is what I offer.
Cool. I love it. Well, Dennis, you've been very gracious with your time here today, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface on so many things. I've had a ton of questions in the chat room. Can you hang out with us for a few minutes in the post show and take some of these questions?
Absolutely can.
Okay.
Be happy to.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, hold on just a second. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Dennis will be right back in post show. If you're watching us live, you do want to hang around for the post show. If you're watching us on Facebook, you get the Facebook. I think we're recording the Facebook post show, and one of our 2 YouTubes for this show will include the post show. So if you're watching the one that doesn't, go back to YouTube and look for the other show on the same date, and that will include the post show. You won't be able to ask questions, of course, because it's recorded. But hey, come watch us live sometimes. We're live Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Eastern at easternshorebroadcasting.com or streamingidiots.com if that's easier to remember. If you're watching us on YouTube, you've watched this far, you may as well subscribe. And if you're watching us on Facebook, we'd love to have you come join the Facebook group right down there, Facebook/groups/streaming idiots. There's always a great discussion, or most of the time multiple discussions going on about cameras and microphones and mixers and CDNs and technologies and vMix and all sorts of great things. So if you're interested in live streaming, and obviously you are because you've watched this much of the show, come join our group and engage. That's the key. Ask questions, make yourself available, and then we will be happy all together in the same place. So next week we have a real treat for you next week. Tess Protesto is coming. Tess is, as you remember, is the co-host of the PTZ Optics line of broadcasts. And Tess is coming to talk a little bit about that, but mostly about her passion. And that's what live streaming is all about. It's about your passion. Tess has a long history of making tutorial videos for girls and women with using makeup. So you may not be interested in the makeup part of it, but you may be interested in the technology part of it that she uses for that. So that'll be next Wednesday, July 26th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. And then coming up August 2nd, Zach Adams, who was the winner of the 2017 Streaming Award. I mean, he was the overall grand prize winner for his work in producing Cruise Week TV. Zach will be on the show at a special 7 p.m., an evening show on August 2nd. So we'll make sure that we post that on Facebook and Twitter and places so that you can come watch then and there. So next week, Tess Protesto at 3. The week after that, Zach Adams with Cruise Week TV at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching. If you're watching us live, stick around for the post show. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Bye now. And we are done. And we are now officially in the post show. Woo!
Post show! Woo!
Yeah, really. Okay.
That was great.
Thank you. That was fun. You're a good interview.
Well, thank you. I love playing around in front of cameras and microphones all day. It's a great.
Well, and you bring in a ton of being in front of the camera kind of experience, and that means a lot. That means a lot. Yeah. I mean, if sometimes the folks in the chat room will do out there, they'll have a drinking game, and every time I say they drink, and sometimes they don't even make it through the whole show. That's probably Giles.
That's funny.
And you know, they'd be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after listening to you for a half an hour. They'd be like,
Well, and I'll say it again. Radio was my my love and where I actually started. I'll never forget. I started at Alabama in 92, fall of 92, going in thinking I was going to be the next Al. What's his name? The weather guy at the Today Show. I'm drawing a blank now. But anyways, I always thought I'd be network television. Al Roker and the guy before that always did the happy birthday to the 100-plus-year-old people. But anyways, the guy that ran the assistant dean there at the college is like, you need to start in radio first and learn how to talk. And it was the best advice I ever got. Being in front of a live microphone without having to worry about how you look and all that kind of stuff, once you got your brain trained to how to talk in front of a live microphone, then once I got in front of the video camera, I could focus on that and not have to worry about my voice. And so I still give college kids that advice. If you're wanting to get in television, go play in radio for a year, learn how to be in front of a live microphone, and then go from there.
Cool. All right, so we had some questions that we didn't get to during the show.
Okay.
And the one question that got asked and plus one multiple times had to do with Hewitt Trustful football and sponsors and advertisers. And how did you decide how to make your price points for your packages and your advertising? I mean, obviously you guys had you had 30-second spots. You had sponsorships of different parts of the show. You had packages that represented different sections of those. Excuse me, but let's start with a 30-second spot. If I wanted to do 30 seconds.
This year, 30 seconds for the season are $1,500. Now, let me start first by saying
for one spot. Boy, you don't have to sell too many clients.
No. We ran with you get your 30-second spot run twice per broadcast for all the broadcasts for $1,500. Now that price was initially $1,000 our first two seasons.
Okay.
And let's see. So in what we promised was there's 10 regular season games,
right?
And then we promised we would do the spring football game and 3 other non-football broadcasts in the spring of our choosing, like a baseball, basketball, something like that. And it just to kind of grit a little bit of variety in there. And then if the team went to the playoffs, those would be free, which may not be the best business model, but it worked for us because it really attracted people in there. So at $1,000, once you figured you're looking at 15 broadcasts, I mean that you're spending, per commercial only about $30 per commercial for, and that was it was important for us that first year to kind of really set the number low because it was untested. There were no numbers that we could put in front of advertisers to say this was, we're going to guarantee this many. We couldn't do that first year. We were blessed with a relationship with one of the car dealers, the general manager at one of the car dealerships, who loved the concept, was already a big fan of advertising on the internet, and he, sight unseen, gave us a title sponsorship of, I think, $10,000 for that first season that we did it. So, and as far as numbers go, we sat down and figured out cost, how much it was going to cost to actually produce the broadcasting, and we already had some equipment that we owned for other stuff, so what we needed to buy, and then went backwards from there as to how much money do we need to break even, and then that sort of thing. And so that's kind of how we started with some of the price points and setting numbers.
Good deal. Hopefully that answers a bunch of questions there. Jim Jacobs is saying that's almost exactly what they're charging at FNN, Friday Night Network in Anniston.
Yeah, I would expect Jim's numbers and our numbers are very, very similar in those regards. The great thing that's been able to work in our favor is the community. By doing one school every week, the community, they see this in their face every week. And so now the advertisers are hearing from their customers coming in saying, "Hey, did you watch the football game Friday night on the app or whatever?" And the advertisers, they walk into the hot dog place and say, "Man, because they sponsor the Red Zone, and man, Bert was calling you out all the time. I heard your name 10 times the other night." So, just that word of mouth has really, really helped get repeat business from advertisers.
I remember when I was streaming soccer, this was probably, I don't know, 2010 maybe. And there was a Mexican restaurant in town that I really liked, and they were sponsors of our broadcast. And so, they had their commercial during the commercial time, but, sometimes when you got people that you really like, you want to throw them a bone when you can. And so I would talk about my experiences going to the restaurant when there was a break in the action. And my favorite, I think it was like, you know how Mexican restaurant menus are. Everything has a number. And my favorite was 32A, which I think was a quesadilla, but I don't remember. So I'd talk about that. And people would come in and they'd say, "We want the soccer streaming special, 32A." And the restaurant folks were like,
fantastic.
"What are you talking about? We don't understand." And finally, we were able to put it all together. And it was,
That's huge.
That was huge. That's what said. This works. This works.
No
Now,
doubt,
would those
no
folks
doubt.
have gone to the restaurant anyway? Probably. That was a big hangout for the folks in the soccer world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but when advertisers have people, or in the case like with our replay sponsor is a mortgage company, or not a mortgage company, but they sell real estate. He sold a house last year as a result of it. And he said that just that one sale alone paid for his sponsorship.
Oh, for sure.
But just the amount of people that walked in and said, "Hey, we saw your name on the Husky Fast Network." It's
Right.
just the brand awareness for the advertisers is key.
Well, and talk a little bit about brand awareness for just a minute, because brand
Sure.
awareness doesn't always mean a sale today, but it sort of validates who you are as not being just somebody else.
It is an important long-term strategy, and it kind of goes back to a lot of the reasons when I started out with content marketing more than 4 years ago as a goal for clients that I work with. All of them I talk about, we always start, almost always, depending on where they're at, with a brand awareness strategy, because you've got to build up that authority online as a trusted source. And I think now more than ever, we see it with the politics on Facebook and so forth, and the fake news that's out there, and even traditional media organizations are having difficulty maintaining that level of trust with their readers or viewers or consumers. It's now more important than ever for businesses to just hold on to that trust and build that trust. And that's where that brand awareness comes from, by building that trust in people. When they get ready to buy something, they trust you because you have provided them with some sort of service or information that has improved their lives, has been valuable to them. And when they're ready to buy something, they'll remember you because they trust you. And so that brand awareness is extremely important.
Cool. I agree. I've watched it happen. It's really kind of amazing. All right,
There's
Kenny.
no doubt.
Kenny's got a sports question.
Okay.
Kenny says, "Do you use a truck and a crew from the games? How big of a paid staff? Just talk about your gear and your staffing and the finances behind that."
Yep. So we don't have a nice trailer like Jim, unfortunately. Maybe someday we'll have our own trailer, but right now everything fits in the back of my SUV. We do have a staff. We've got a play-by-play and a color announcer. We've got a statistician that keeps all the stats on an iPad and has a TV there in front of the play-by-play and the announcer so they can see the stats at any moment during the game. We have 3 camera operators, and then we'll have a sideline reporter, and that's pretty much it. I'm running on vMix. I basically run the entire production on vMix. That includes instant replay, audio, and that's where the shortcuts inside vMix and triggers and so forth and playlist just make my life so much easier, because if you're trying to do all that manually, it's just nearly impossible for one person to do.
For one person. Well, in a regular TV truck, you're talking about probably 6 or 7 people just for what you do.
No doubt. Right. So in a normal TV environment, and this was true in the in TV when I worked, you've got your director who told everybody else on the production staff what to do. So the technical director switching cameras is different from the actual director. Then you've got an audio person. Then you've got a graphics person. Instant replay would have its own person who handles just the instant replay as an input source, and so forth. So yeah, you're looking at a breakout, and that's really still true in your big professional TV broadcast. If you look at what ESPN or Fox Sports does, or if you go to your nearest college stadium. I got a chance last year to tour the University of Alabama's football stadium and saw their broadcast operations. They have, just for the screens inside the stadium, they treat that as a professional full-size TV broadcast. They have a full switcher, full director, technical director. They have 2 instant replay operators that sit in the back. And so there's 2 people working on instant replays from all the camera angles that are coming in. Audio, if there's any audio needs for the PA system. But they have a playlist that they work on during the week. So every announcement that you hear starting 2 hours before the game is pre-scripted, both on the PA and visually on the boards, all the way through the post game after the game. Everything is scripted visually and audibly in that stadium, and that's true for all your big stadiums. So it's a massive production, even just running the video boards at a football stadium.
I've built several PCs, well, more than several, quite a few PCs that ended up in arenas, hockey rinks, to power jumbotrons and do the exact same thing. Yep, it's cool. It's cool. All right, let's see. Merle wants to know where you put your cameras.
Cameras, we've got 2 in the press box and then a third on the sideline. The sideline camera has been off and on, either sideline or off to the side somewhere, but we are getting up until the big NDI announcement, I was planning on just getting a wireless transmitter, but now I'm seriously giving some serious thought about the Kinect Spark, and I'll either do Wi-Fi range out of the press box straight to there, or we'll do a point-to-point Wi-Fi extender. I forget. I was doing some research on that Monday. I was gone all of last week, so I spent the weekend and the first part of this week catching up on the big New Tech NDI 3 announcement, and mind blown to say the least. So, but the cost savings of being able to use the Kinect Spark with a sideline camera, it's incredible. So that's where the cameras are. But and one of the cameras is the camera. Here's the other thing. The high school athletics department hires us to shoot one camera from the press box that is wide angle, that shows all 22 football players on the field at one time for the coaches. And after the game, we upload those clips to the system. Well, we use that as one of our camera angles in the system. It's not our primary camera, but it is one of the cameras. And so that becomes one of the camera sources into the system. So we've got 2 cameras up in the press box. The other one, the primary camera, it doesn't show all 22. It's usually zoomed in on either the offensive line and the quarterback, running back, or if they're on defense, getting a little bit of the defense in there as well. So but then that third camera to get kind of cutaways is the sideline camera. I envision once we go wireless will be very, very valuable in instant replays and celebrations of touchdowns and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys do any kind of interaction with the coaches at halftime and post game, kind of like you see on ESPN?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we've got Sennheiser wireless mic that we used last season, where the sideline reporter would call in on his phone, and I would patch audio through him over the phone so he could hear the play-by-play announcer, because we just didn't have our audio system set up right to send him audio. So that was the best way to get audio to him, but that we were getting crystal clean audio from him wirelessly out of my Sennheiser stick mic back into our audio mixer. And so he would do a live interview with the coach at halftime and then a post-game live interview as well.
Are y'all doing a coaches show, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? Tell me about that.
Yep. We've been recording it on Sunday night. It's not live. We usually record it on this past season. We recorded it on Sunday nights because it was most convenient for me and the host and the coach on Sunday nights to record that. So the play-by-play announcer would go through all the clips and pick some of his favorites. We would assemble those into video clips and have a TV in front of them, so they would, go to them and show it and talk about the clips and then talk about the upcoming game. Those are sponsored elements as well.
Mm-hmm. So somebody might sponsor the whole thing, or
we will have we would
first half,
often have a title. We would have like a title sponsor for the coaches show. The coaches show. The first season, we put it on one of the cable access channels, so we timed it straight up 30 minutes long. But last year, it was Facebook only, so some nights it might be 16, 17 minutes long. The other nights it might be 25, 30. We would do a break, either one or two commercial breaks in there, and have 30 or 60, one or two 30-second spots in between the breaks. And even a pre-roll video at the front end. The problem is you can't upload those to YouTube. You can't to YouTube or Facebook because they're terms of service. Right. So we use Vimeo to host all of our on-demand content that has all of our commercial broadcasts in it, and make it available there. And then just share the links out on social media and an email list that we've been cultivating now for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So the coaches show is just available video on demand whenever somebody wants to watch it.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. Right. And with the new app that we built this year, and by the way, if people are wanting to build an app, I went the route with goodbarber.com. There's several companies out there that will build apps, and goodbarber.com is who I used to build our app. Couldn't be happier with it. We gave it a test run during the spring football game back in May. Push notifications were super easy to use and just instantaneous on the devices. It takes a little bit of work to get it in there because you've got to basically get your own developer license from Apple and from Android. It's not a Good Barber app; it's your app, but you're paying Good Barber to host the content and to make it plug and play where you can drag and drop content in it. And the end result for us, you can see the app without actually downloading. It's a free app to download out of the App Store if you search Husky Fast Network or go to huskyfastnetwork.com to search it. Or if you want to kind of see the app on your phone without downloading it, if you go to m.huskyfastnetwork.com, then you can get the mobile version of the app and kind of see how it would look on your phone if you downloaded the app.
Gotcha.
So there's huskyfastnetwork.com, and then if you just put an m.huskyfastnetwork.com on there, you can see what what it would look like on a mobile device. It looks best on a mobile device or tablet. If you tried to look at it on a desktop, it's going to look very stretched and kind of weird because you're on the desktop. So,
Gotcha. All right, Rich has decided he can finally show up. Yes, Rich, this is the post show right here. Rich says, how do you manage to not include any background copyright music? That's a problem a lot of people have.
It is a problem, and that's why we don't stream on Facebook or YouTube. We've chosen Wowza, and partly there's Daycast is another good one out there that I've never used Daycast, but Wowza actually goes back to my TV days. When I first got into live streaming at our TV station, Wowza was the provider that handled that through our corporate office. So I've had an off and on a long history with them, and their stuff worked when we needed it to work. So that's why I chose Wowza for our live streaming and been very happy with it. It's been very reliable. Their service just it works and works really well. There may be some others out there that do better or do just as well, and that's not a knock on them. I've just stuck with Wowza because it's worked for me, and they haven't given me a reason to leave. I'll put it that way. But we do the custom streaming there for that very reason, that we know the copyrighted music in the background would be a problem if we tried to live stream the games on Facebook or YouTube. Just from the terms of service there and the music. So now we will upload clips like a play of the game from the broadcast to Facebook or sometimes YouTube, but definitely Facebook and Twitter, because those usually don't have music in them. All you're hearing is the announcers and the crowd cheering.
Gotcha. Okay. Ken was asking about taking a look at your website. It's huskyfastnetwork.com, right?
Yes. Okay. huskyfastnetwork.com. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
And the Husky Fast comes, it's a kind of a slogan of the coach that's been there going, I think this is his third or fourth season now, but Husky Fast is his kind of little catchphrase, so that's where it came from.
Gotcha. As opposed to Tom Slow. Got it. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Me too.
Indeed. Okay. Good questions, guys.
Oh, yeah. I love to answer anything I can, although I feel like Jim probably invented a lot of this at FNN before I did. But it's funny, I did a lot of this research on my own, and then, months or a year or two later realized there's other people out there in this world that are doing the same thing. And that's what, I'd mentioned this to you, Tom, I think last week when we talked, the Streaming Idiots group I just discovered here in the last few weeks, and the resources in there are extremely valuable to me because I now feel like there's a place of a community of people like me. Before that, I really wasn't a part of it. I didn't know of any Facebook group of people that are trying to do what I do. And
right.
So, there's a ton of great information already in that Facebook group and in Streaming Idiots, and that's absolutely what I love about it the most.
Yep. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of. Yep. And, this is kind of like the early PC days when, you had your 300 baud modem and somebody would set up a BBS somewhere, and you'd have a computer users group that would meet, once a month, and everybody was very collegial and anxious to share and help. What they knew they would share, and what they didn't know they might share that too.
That's true. That's very true.
And it's interesting having been a part of that way back when, back in the MS-DOS CPM days, to see the same thing kind of happening again with the live streaming world. Is, we have a group of folks, there are over 700 folks that are on this Streaming Idiots group. Now, not all of them are active, and not all of them speak English, but
right.
But there are a good number of folks literally from all over the world that are taking an active interest in posting on a daily basis. And a lot of those folks are viewers of this show, which, of course, where the group came from to begin with. I think Jan and Marie, Lynn, for doing that, they were the ones that created the group and just said, oh, by the way, we're not asking your permission. We're just telling you we already did it. And Jan said, go ahead.
No, he's right. They're right. It's just it's good community, and it does. It's funny you had mentioned the way the BBS days. I do remember back when I was in high school, the old BBS world. I hadn't thought about that in a long time, but that's absolutely that community. That's what this feels like, and I do believe their day will come, maybe next year, maybe 5-10 years from now, where the technology will improve to a point where it will be easier for more people to do what we're doing now.
Yes.
When people ask me, hey, I want a live stream. Okay, well, how serious are you about it? I mean, because
right.
I'm not trying to brag, but I feel like some days I'm a chief engineer at a TV station trying to make sure all the pieces run together. During a football broadcast, I'm more of like a producer and a director. But at any moment, I may have to become the chief engineer again.
Right.
And so I feel like what the guys at vMix and these other companies are doing, they're working to make it where there's less of a need for a chief engineer, where it's more plug and play. And I think when that day comes, we'll all be better for it. The internet world will be better for it because there will be more high quality live streaming going on because it'll be easier to do. And I look forward to that day.
I don't, because it's nice to be the one that's the holder of the secrets. No, I'm teasing.
Well, that's true. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. You're right. I mean, because it is in that sense. You're coming to me for advice, and it makes me feel good for a second. But then I also start to this goes back to my TV days as well. One of my early bosses in television always told me, he said, you've got to have a plan B. because you've got to expect Plan A to fail. If this is live television, and Plan A at some point will fail, what is Plan B? You've got to be able to ready to switch to Plan B or Plan C at a moment's notice.
Yep.
And so I kind of think it's the same thing here. The more people that I can share my knowledge with and equip to go out and to be great live streamers and miniature chief engineers or whatever the case may be, the better off the world will be. So
yes.
that's
Yes.
kind of my mission, is to try to help and educate as many people as I possibly can.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Somebody was commenting the other day, you know, that they wanted their slice of the pie to get bigger, and I said, no, you don't want your slice of the pie to get bigger. You want the pie to get bigger, not your slice.
Yeah.
If your slice stays like at 25% and the pie triples, then you're there.
That's it. I use the analogy of hospitals. We need more than one hospital in the world. There's too many people in the world to try to fit into one hospital to see one doctor. We need as many hospitals and as many doctors as we can to help people get to feeling better. And it's the same way with live streaming. There will always be a need for live streaming as long as the internet's around. So the more people that we can get trained and equipped, the better off all of us will be.
Yep, I agree. Jim Jacobs has a question in chat. He says, have you had any issues with away teams gaining access? Jim?
Yes, Jim.
Okay.
Yes. It's ironic. We had more of an issue with the Birmingham area teams than we did with the Huntsville teams. Just a little bit of background, and this may be for most of your audience not, but Trussville is in the Birmingham, Alabama area, and last year, the State of Alabama High School Athletic Association moved Hewitt-Trussville High School into the North Alabama region in the Huntsville area. So now Hewitt has to, and it's basically just to try to even up the state. Well, anyways, Trussville's there, so they're having to travel to Huntsville now, like 3 or 4 games this year, which is about an hour and a half drive to some of these schools instead of a 15-minute drive down the road to some of the Birmingham schools in the area. The Birmingham area schools 2 years ago, because Hewitt is not a NFHS school and Husky Fast Network is not part of the NFHS network, those schools had the right to refuse to let us broadcast or to broadcast audio only. And the host school always has that ability. Now, Hewitt always plays it right to the schools coming in and says, hey, you can come in and broadcast, whatever we can do to help. Some of the other schools that already had live streaming as an NFHS school through their pay-per-view with NFHS and the Alabama High School Athletic Association, they felt like we were a threat to their business model, to their pay-per-view business model for the 10 or 15 or 20 people that would be watching that night. And so they refused to let us do it. And the athletic director would call over there and would convince them at least to let us live stream our audio. So we would do an audio broadcast and then upload the video to Vimeo after the game. But yes, it is an issue. I think I think there's some politics that needs to change in some of the athletic structures in this state in order to fix that, because I think some people are more concerned about their pocketbooks than doing what's right for the student athletes in the state of Alabama.
Yep.
And it shows in some of the policies that have been set forth in this state. But
yep. All the money is
kind of the way.
Montgomery wants all the money. Let's put it that way. And,
yes, no doubt.
And,
no doubt.
And you're not sending them any.
I have no problem. Well, no, exactly. That's exactly. We have paid. There were a couple of Huntsville schools that charged us like $150 or $200, something like that, to be able to broadcast. Okay, I get that, because you feel like that maybe that's gate money you're losing from someone that doesn't want to drive from Birmingham to Huntsville that time to watch the football game. I'm all right with that. I do have a problem with just refusing to let us broadcast altogether. That to me is just ridiculous. It's a backward way of thinking. It's also kind of like the same way of thinking that if we don't broadcast our newscast on television, or if we do, it'll take away from TV ratings. It's people that just don't understand the reality that live streaming actually builds brand awareness for your school, for your football team, or for athletic team, and has the opposite effect of what you fear in your mind.
You know, I hear that story time and time and time again. And eventually, one day, we will not have to make that argument anymore. But
I agree.
I've been
It's
hearing
gonna
that
take
same
some
argument
time
for
and
10
just-
years.
Yep. We just need to keep beating the drum on that. And a lot of that, I think, is on us to share relevant numbers with people. And that's why I always try to pull stats at the end of the season. And I'll go back to the school, to the principal, to the school superintendent, to the head football coach, to the athletic director, and say, here's what we did for you this past year. At no cost to you, we provided more than 500,000 impressions of Hewitt-Trussell athletics, Hewitt-Trussell football to the people of this city. And it didn't cost you a dime. And so, they also know what their gate numbers were like. They know that the home games weren't affected. They know that the home games, the stands are full at the home games. So, you just keep reminding them of that. And that's where I think sometimes after an event's over, we're like, man, I've got another event tomorrow. I can't debrief on the one I just finished. But sometimes I think it's important for us to debrief after these events and get that information back to our customers so that they know how well the event performed and don't just assume that they know. I think
Right.
it's incumbent on us to share that information.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's see. Looks like a lot of the folks in the chat room are off in the weeds talking about gaffer tape.
Yes, gaffer tape, please. No more duct tape. Don't just keep the duct tape out of your box, your streaming box. Otherwise, someone goes and grabs it and tapes your cables down with duct tape, and your hands will be sticky for months to come.
Yep, that's right. Well, if we did everything wirelessly, we'd cut out half the cables.
NewTek's going to take care of that for us. It sounds like so.
You know, the $495 for the Spark. I think that's the HDMI version.
Yes.
You know, that's pretty darn tempting.
I am sitting there and let's see. I was trying to look at. I pulled my number. Let's see, the NanoBeam Air Max,
Right.
or Air Max from Ubiquiti, I guess is the name of the company that built it. But that's what I'm looking at.
Easy for
because
you to
we've
say.
got this. Easy for me to say, but that's what I'm sitting here thinking about, getting a pair of those to beam a Wi-Fi signal out of our press box area down to the sideline to get this to repeat the signal close enough to where a Spark could easily reach that there
Yep.
on the sideline, and
Yep.
then that sideline camera could roam.
Yep.
That's what I'm really thinking about, and I mean that NanoBeam, I think, was, when I looked it up, was only like $100 a piece.
I know.
So $200, and then if I sprang for the SDI options to the HDMI, you're looking for less than $1,000. You've got a live streaming solution.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And
Compared
it's not
to
just a
the
one-way
market.
Yes, compared to the market, because I was looking at paying about $4,000 this fall for a live streaming, and it wasn't going to give me a tally light. This would give me a tally light to go back.
Yeah.
And by doing this too, I need to go back and find it. I had found an intercom system that basically was app driven. I can't remember the name of it now. I have to go back and find it, put it in the group. But it was like an intercom system that was app driven. You could get headphones that would fit your phones, but with like full broadcast. But it was all on you put it on a wireless network. And I kept thinking, the sideline camera. Well, now if I'm running this too, that way everybody could communicate over the Wi-Fi, even the guy on the sideline. I'm mind blown as of the last 2 or 3 days after diving into the NewTek stuff. It's incredible.
Yep. It's a good time to be in the live streaming world.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yep. And I would think it would be a little intimidating for somebody coming into it new. Although it's probably easier to get into it now than it was 3 years ago. because the products are more mature.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at what was
that's true.
available from a software switcher standpoint. You had Vid Blaster, you had Wirecast, you had vMix was
Yep.
just a little baby, at least here in the U.S. You had
Yeah,
XSplit,
my first season was Wirecast.
Manycam,
Yep.
and none
Yep.
of it was
Oh, no.
very good.
No. In fact, I mean, 5 years ago, I didn't even have a software solution. I was using a Blackmagic switcher, and then taking the output of that out, and had a Blackmagic device to take it into a USB or Thunderbolt on my Mac, that to live stream. So I was doing everything through hardware 5 years ago. And then Wirecast came along, and our first season, we actually of Husky Fast, we did that on Wirecast. Had the commercials located in. We didn't have instant replay, and we didn't have the live scoreboard data, but we're like, man, we're good. But last season, we added vMix. We got the Sportscast, sports that middle
That's cool.
S actually
That's
is
really cool.
Yes, and they use a cloud feature now with that, so the data was actually coming out of the scoreboard, going up to their cloud, and coming back down into our vMix via NDI into there, and I mean almost in exact real time. I mean, maybe no more than a half second of latency from the scoreboard to our screen. With the clock running, and that way we had live scoreboard data right there overlaid on it. If anybody wants to go back and see, by the way, any of our Husky Fast stuff, you go to m.huskyfastnetwork.com. The archives are there, or if you just go to Vimeo, search my channel. If you search Dennis Washington on Vimeo, you'll see all of the Husky Fast Network archives on there, and you can see broadcasts from the spring game, from last fall. The one thing we haven't done from a manpower perspective is on the away games. We really need someone to run the virtual scoreboard, because Sportscast has a feature where, like with an iPad, you can run a virtual scoreboard and feed it into your vMix on Sportscast as if it were connected to a Daktronics scoreboard or whatever scoreboard hardware you're using. And it's made for people that want to run a virtual scoreboard. The problem in our case was we just didn't really have someone there that it was, because that becomes the full-time job. That person, all they can do is sit there and run a scoreboard on their lap the entire time. I mean, that includes stopping the clock to match what they see if they're sitting there in the stands. So,
Yep.
and the other, because that was the problem we ran into at visiting stadiums. They would have a different vendor for their scoreboard, or they didn't allow us to connect to their scoreboard, that sort of thing. So,
Yep.
The visiting, when we were away, we didn't usually have scoreboard data at the bottom, which is something I'd like to avoid this fall if I can.
Huh. Gotcha. Well, Dennis, you have been really kind to hang out so long with us this afternoon.
Man, I've enjoyed it. I could talk about this for hours, and I and I mentioned I hated I didn't get to come over to StreamCon in Atlanta last month. I had really planned on it, had some last minute emergencies pop up with some friends of ours, and ended up being all night. It just wasn't able to make it over, but I definitely want to be at that event the next time it comes up, and anything else I can get my hands on like that, because that to me, I told my wife, I said StreamCon is the just like Streaming Idiots Facebook group, it's the event I've been looking for. It's people like me, it's my people. So
Yep.
definitely want to be at that next time. But really appreciate being on and in the group here. This has been fantastic today.
Well, maybe we need to have a little Alabama Streaming Idiots meetup sometime.
No doubt.
We got Tommy
No
in
doubt.
Reeltown, and Jim in Anniston, and you in Trustful, and of course me way down at the
Yep.
coast.
Well,
Marcus
it
Mason's
sounds
in
like we need to
Birmingham.
come to the coast. Yeah.
Well, now we could
Yeah,
do that.
we all, I mean, that's a good excuse to come to the beach and have a meeting. There's no
I
doubt
tell you,
about
the
that.
time to come is like January and February. The
Yes.
place is deserted. The seafood
is.
restaurants are just, begging you to come in, and they're giving away all their food. It's just,
MLK weekend, for the last 2 years, I have worked an event at the Orange Beach Convention Center, in we'll probably be back down there again this January for it again, called the Gulf Youth Conference, and similar to what I'll be doing this weekend at Faulkner in Montgomery. So yeah, it's we absolutely need to meet up down there. It would be fantastic.
Well, when you come, let me know, because I'd love to come buy you breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll do it. It would be great.
All right. Outstanding. And anybody else that that wants to show up in Orange Beach, Alabama in February, that's right. Come on. I'm buying. I'm buying.
I'll be there in the morning.
As long as it's Waffle
fantastic.
House. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of thank yous here in the chat. Thank you, guys and ladies. It means the world to us that you guys would tune in and hang out with us. Shout out to folks that have showed up since the last time, which would be Anderson and Guido. Let's see. Giles we recognized earlier. Martin Stuckey's here. Yeah, we just shipped a bunch of cameras over to Switzerland for Martin. He's using them in sports. Wow. He's using them for curling. He's going to position 10 cameras.
Love curling.
You love curling?
Oh, right. Yeah. Are you kidding? Curling is awesome. We were just talking about the Olympics the other night because there was beach volleyball on, and the kids were like, it's like, well, Winter Olympics is next year, and we'll have curling, man. That stuff rocks.
Well, Martin, if you're listening, you need to post a URL in here right now because you don't have to wait because curling season's right around the corner.
That's huge.
Let's see who else showed up. Timothy, Sean, we got you guys earlier. Guest 945, welcome. Philip is here from Austria. Thank you, Philip. Glad to have you. Kent's here. He's watching from his desk. M1 Sport, Blaze is here. Charles Gooch is here. Charles does sports scoreboards, the graphics for him. Let's see. Rich finally decided to show up. Texas Mike, Mike Lotta. I think that's it. Great.
Tom, do you podcast any of your stuff yet?
No,
not to change the subject.
I've pondered it, but so much is so visually oriented. It just, the medium in this case, in this particular case for this show, Streaming Idiots, the medium is the message.
Yeah.
And,
I agree with that.
I do know there are folks that would love to say, Tom, if you could just put it in a podcast, we'll go back and watch the live stream later if there's something we want to see, but we do want to get the information. I understand that.
Yeah.
And vMix now has the ability to record a high-quality WAV file simultaneous to everything else it's recording. Did you know that?
I did not know that. So is it WAV only? They won't do an MP3 simultaneously, just a WAV?
Let's see. It is
not that it would be much difficult to convert a WAV file to an MP3, but if it saved it as an MP3 automatically.
Just a WAV file at this point. And I asked Martin about that, why not an MP3? And he said, because what he's heard is that the high-quality WAV is what everybody wants. Don't know. I'm not an audio guy, so... Not a video guy either. Yeah. I'm just an idiot.
It's a video thing. I'm just
That's right.
Love that. That's awesome.
All right,
I'm kind of scrolling through some of the comments. These are great comments. Thank you
here's
so
the
much.
quote of the day right here. Jan, who is in Sweden, says, curling obviously rocks. They use rocks.
This is true. Yes, they do, and brooms and all. I'm going to have to go look up curling on YouTube now to get my fix for the day. So
there you go.
There
you go. Apparently Martin Stuckey must have slipped away, but he'll be disappointed to hear that he's missed a fan. All right, Dennis Washington, you automatically get an invite back because you've been such a great guest and so easy to talk to. It's been a lot of fun.
Anytime. We'll talk tornadoes this next time. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll do it.
Actually, I was thinking we should talk after football season. And get a wrap up, and hear about whether you got a spark and how that worked and any changes or new things that you faced, because it would be good to have that follow up.
Yep. We'll do it. We'll plan for it. That'll be great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys.
you.
Well, Dennis is gone, and I'm fixing to go too. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week, July 26th, with Tess Protesto and her makeup show. And then special show August 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern with Zach Adams, the winner of the streaming streaming award. And then, of course, August 5th is Streamfest, which will be going on like 18 hours that day. So there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. Mark your calendars, and we will catch you when we catch you. We're going to just stream out a little bit so it doesn't cut you off. Take care, friends.